Hello everyone, my name is Marta and I'm super excited to be a part of this DevClub meetup. And today we will supercharge our developer experience in Angular. I will present you top 10 tools that allows you to build your Angular apps faster, for less effort, that will improve your efficiency as a developer, and just will allow you to work more productively. Let's get started. So let's talk about developer experience. As you know, our life as developers sometimes is quite complicated. So we have good and bad moments, and the knowledge about proper tools you can apply into your project is just crucial. Today I will present you tools that will make your life easier, that will make your working days full of positive feelings, and without wasting time on things that can be done automatically. Now let me introduce myself. So my name is Marta Wiśniewska, I'm from Poland, I live in Warsaw, and I'm Google Developer Expert in Angular and web technologies, and I love Angular, progressive web apps, open source. I co-create this open source project called PWFire. If you're interested, just visit our websites or visit our profile on Twitter. I'm also organizer of Women Tech Makers Warsaw and Google Developers Group Warsaw. And I love sport, coffee, all stuff about community and technology. When I was preparing this presentation, I was considering what are my tasks as a developer. And the first one is quite obvious, that just we write code. The implementation is the first one. And it sounds quite simple that we write code to add some features. But if we consider more, then we will find a lot of different aspects that we're responsible for. For example, we need to select proper solution to our project. We need to take care about architecture, about proper libraries and dependencies we can apply into our project. We need to create apps that are reusable and scalable. We need to take care about app performance. And also we should keep proper code style to deliver good quality projects. But this is only one area. I found much more. So also we're responsible for environment, for the setup and for the configuration. We need to write tests, unit tests and end-to-end tests to deliver good quality products. We're responsible for debugging, so we should know proper techniques to debug your app, and of course to solve these bugs as soon as possible. We're responsible for building and deployment process to deliver app to your users. And the last one, documentation. It's also important part of our job. And based on these areas, on these puzzles, I found these 10 tools that I hope will be really helpful for you. The first one is super powerful, and for me is the most important tool if you want to play more with Angular. This is Angular CLI, a command line interface tool that allows you to initialize, develop and maintain your Angular apps. I told you that I think this is the most powerful and the most important, because as you can see, for almost each of these areas you can find commands that you can automate your work as a developer. So you can, for example, use ng-generate as a part of implementation, so it allows you to generate your typical Angular elements like components, services, and it's really helpful for you to automate your work. You have ng-add command to add some dependencies and libraries to your projects. ng-run, ng-lint, also really useful for implementation. If we're talking about environment, we have super powerful ng-new command that will generate full your workspace and new projects for Angular that you're ready to work on. ng-config for displaying configuration of your project. ng-update to update dependencies. If we're talking about documentation, ng-doc allows you to display documentation of Angular for specific query. For testing, for running unit tests, you have ng-test. For running end-to-end tests, you have ng-e2e. And you have lots of important commands for building and deployment process with different options to customize these processes with different flags and options you can apply that are really easy to apply and are really useful. And this is the setup for Angular CLI. So you can install it via npm with npm install command, and the minor version of Angular CLI is the same like the minor version on Angular. And if you want to display all commands that you can use inside the interface of Angular, then you can type ng-help, and then you will get a following result. If you want to display details for specific command, you need to type ng command name with help. And today I don't have time to describe all of these commands, but I will focus on two. The first one is, I think I use the most and the most helpful for me, and the second one is that I have never used before, but I found it yesterday and I think it's really helpful and really cool, and maybe it will be also helpful for you. So let's talk about it. The first one, I told you that is the most powerful for me. This is ng-generate. And here I listed Angular elements that you can generate automatically with this command. And they are the must commands. So this is, for example, component, service, directive, interface. You can also generate pipes, guards, modules, interceptors, enum. But maybe you haven't heard about other stuff, like here. So on the right side you can see list with, let's say, less common elements that you can generate. So I don't know if you know that you can generate app shell for running a server-side version of your app. You can generate a new basic app definition with ng-generate application. It will happen in the project subfolder of your workspace. Other options like service worker or generation of web worker. And the last one, it allows you to create a generic library project inside the current workspace. And the second, I told you that I have never used it before, so this is ngdoc. And it's really cool. It will open your browser documentation of Angular for specific queries. So if you type ngdoc component, then you will get open browser with these results. So there are results from Angular API. And if you type ngdoc component with search flag, then you will get the results from search. This is how it looks like. Now it's time to talk about another area, really important. This is debugging, because sometimes it's quite frustrating, right? And the tool that allows you to debug your Angular apps is called Augury, and this is a browser extension for Chrome or Firefox. It's open source and it allows you to profile Angular apps. It's really cool because it allows you to get immediate insight into the full app structure, the change detection, and performance characteristics. And it allows you, for example, to get some issues involved with your performance and just debug your app through the component trees. To use it, you need to visit the Augury page on Chrome or Firefox. You need to add this extension to your browser. Then you can run your app, but you need to remember about debug mode. Then you can open developer tools in your browser and you're ready to debug your app. And this is how it looks like, the official page of Augury. You have few options to install it on specific browser. This is an example for Chrome, so if you click one of these buttons, then you will be redirected to the Chrome Web Store. The short quick view, and you can add it to your browser. And this is how it looks like the result of Augury inside your browser in developer tools. So as you can see on the left side, you have component tree, so you have the full structure of your app divided into components, and you can check details and properties for these components like here. So you can check the state of your component, change detection, counters. If you switch to another tab, the injector graph, then you will see the hierarchy of components and also the connection, the interfaces between services and components, specific components. It's really great visualization. It's really great visualization of your app. And the second tab, rooted tree. So here you can see a tree of your roots, and they charts. So you can select specific root, and then you will see properties like path, handlers, data. Now it's time to talk about user interface libraries and components, because also we need to take care about beautiful user interface, and I prepared for you some solutions that will make your app beautiful. I prepared for you 4 solutions. Today I will focus on Angular Material NGX admin, but NGX data table and NGX charts are really useful because now you have lots of examples of apps when we're using data, and they are great to visualize your data. NGX data table inside the data tables, but NGX charts inside charts. And this solution is specifically developed for large sets of data, but NGX charts, it's really various kinds of charts, easy to customize and easy to apply to Angular apps. How to start with Angular Material? So you can use schematic ng-add with Angular Material. You need to select theme for your app. It can be custom and pre-built, and if you want to use animations, you need to set up it. There is full documentation and official page. So let's take a look at this. So here you can find all components for Angular Material. You can customize your layouts, add really common components that I think we use in almost all apps. And I really like Angular Material because of documentation. So you have great overview for these components, how to use it, great description of API and examples. So it's a great option if you don't have a specific design for your app, but you want to deliver apps that's responsive, and it just looks cool. Another library, this is NGX admin. This is customizable admin dashboard that is based on Angular and another project called Nebular, and here you can find a GitHub link. If you want to use it, you need to clone the full repo and then customize and configure for your own way. Here you can find the official page for NGX admin, and this is how it looks like, the demo. So you have different themes that you can use, but I think all looks really great. If you want to open specific theme, we need to click, select it, and here you can see examples of components that are typical for admin dashboard. Lots of components for handling user requirements and user roles. A lot of interactions with another, let's say, features like maps, like charts, options for editors. Some tables to display your data, to manage this, and some useful pages and components for authorization, and some functionalities for handling users' accounts. I told you today that we're also responsible for reusable and scalable products, and I will present you Storybook that is great options to build components in isolation. So this is tool kind of playground for user interface, and it allows to interactively develop, design and test components. It's kind of sandbox to build UI elements in isolation. It's open source, and the Storybook is just a collection of stories when you describe different states of your components that you want to build regardless of your environment. Here you can find the official page of Storybook. And to install it you have two options. The first one is the automatic installation with only one command, and it works on my environment. It works on Linux and on the latest version of Angular. But if you want to set up it manually, or you have issues with automatic installation, there is instruction for you. So you have 4 steps. The first one is installation of your dependencies. This is Storybook for Angular, Babel and Babel Loader. It's really useful to add Storybook to your scripts of Angular inside package.json. And the last step is creation of 2 configuration files. The first one is configuration for JavaScript. This is how you can do that. And the second is configuration for TypeScript. So if you have ready to use Storybook inside your workspace, then you're ready to write stories that are crucial for storybooks. So each story is a single state of your components. So we write functions to handle all states of your components and to handle all, let's say, edge cases for this component. And there is a short example for button. So here how you can write this component as a story. We do that as a JavaScript, using JavaScript. So in this case we want to display button that will have emoji inside of this button. But typically we write longer stories, so we try to add many states for the same component, and there is example. So this is the same example with emoji, but we also added another story with action and, for example, link to another story. If you wrote your stories, then you're ready to run it inside Storybook. So you need to type this command, npm run storybook, and this will open a browser in specific URL with this Storybook. So the user interface looks this way. So on the left side you will see all your stories that are added inside your workspace. The first one is default, but below you can see stories that we wrote. So this, for example, for emoji, or emoji with action, or with another story. So this is how you can interactively develop your apps, design and test it, and it's good for collaboration, for example, with designers and other developers during implementation phase. And another tool for reusable and scalable components is called bit.dev. It's possible to use inside Angular, but also for another framework solutions. This is a CLI tool that also allows you to build components outside of your environment. It's great for cross-project integration. It's easy to collaborate with other developers, and it's not fully open source. The basic option is for free, but if you want to get more, you need to pay some money. And this is the main page of bit.dev. It's really cool. I like it a lot. So to use it, you need to register, and you can use your GitHub account or just regular registration with your email address. And this is what I told you, that you have a free options with only limited usages. This is one personal private collection and unlimited public collections if you want to share your components, but if you want to get more, you need to upgrade your account. And one use case of this tool, it's really great directory of user interface components. So here you can find a search when you can search your components that you can apply into your project. So for example, if you type Spinner Angular, then you'll get solutions that are possible to apply into your projects. You have great filters that you can, for example, set dependencies for these components you want to use, and some different options. You will see great preview of these components, and there is, for example, overview. So you will see the full source code, dependencies, and if you like, for example, these components, there is instruction for installation and the full source code. So now let's talk about another ways to use this tool. So this is sharing your own components, for example, to another project, to integration with another projects. So to do that, you need to create your collection. It can be personal project or team project. You need to set privacy, is it private or public, and then you will get the page for your collection. We need to select environment. For us it will be today Angular, and if you select this, then you will get the full instruction how you can apply it into your internal workspace and how to export your components. So let's display the static version of this instruction. So here you can see that we need to initialize bit on your project, then we need to track your components, configure building step for Angular with this command, and we need to set a version for your tracked components. We need to tag it, and after that we're ready to export this component and make it shareable. Next topic, that are tools for speed. So in Angular we have, I think, two main ways to improve performance of your apps. The first one is lazy loading. The second method is prefetching. I prepared NGX loadable and hero loader that are involved with lazy loading, but on component level. So NGX loadable is a kind of component level code splitting, and today I will focus on this one, NGX loadable, but hero loader works similarly. I highly recommend you to check this solution as well. And NG Quicklinks is quick link prefetching strategy for Angular router. And the last one, GuessJS, it's really cool because of prefetching. It consumes data from analytic resources like from Google Analytics, and based on users' behavior, it can prefetch specific resources for your app. And today I will not focus on that one, but I highly recommend you to check how it works. It's really nice. So the first one, NGX loadable. So this is component level code splitting, and we already know that Angular have lazy loading on modules, but typically each root tends to have a lot of different components, so that's why we use component level code splitting. So we use NGX loadable components and service loadable service to lazy load modules, and inside these lazy loaded modules we can use these lazy loading components. And this is how you can apply it into your app. So you need to install it, using ng-add command, you need to add lazy loaded module, and then you can use ngx loadable component, so it's like a regular Angular component. Now it's time for quick link. So this is quick link prefetching strategy for the Angular router and how it works. So at the beginning we detect router links within the viewport. We use intersection observer. Then we wait until the browser is idle. So we use request idle callbacks. The next step is checking if the user isn't on slow connection. After checking, we're ready to prefetch lazy loaded modules with basic Angular prefetching strategy. So this is how you can use it inside your projects. So there is installation with npm install command. We need to import the full module and quick link strategy, and then you can add to imports with selecting proper strategy. This is preloading strategy, quick link. Now it's time to talk about a proper code style for your projects. So I will present you Codelyzer. This is a tool that allows you to validate your code and static analysis for Angular projects, and is based on basic Angular style guide, and it's really easy to install it via Angular CLI. So you need to generate a new project and then type ng-lint, and it will apply Codelyzer into your projects. And this is how it works. This is the basic website for Codelyzer with an example. So here you can see warnings and hints for your code. So for example, there is missing prefix for a selector, so you'll inform about it, and if you check it, then the warning disappears. We will have another dot property is unknown here, so it should be hero, not here. We misspell it, so also you inform about it. The other, like for example, validation for style, there's no selector like spam, there should be span, so you also can see here the icon. The hero should be public, not private. The class hero. For components we use hero components, so here is warnings because there is only hero. There is no implementation for ng on init method, so there should be implements on init. So if you apply this ng-lint command, then you will be informed inside your workspace, inside your code, that you have kinds of potential errors inside your code. Another tool for code style, this is a language service. This is extension for IDE. It's editor server for Angular templates, and here you can see the features typical for this extension, and it's possible to use inside VS Code. So installation is like typical extension for VS Code. So this extension is called Angular Engine template, and this is how you can use it. So if you type something, then you will see the compilation list, then you will see the shortcut to go to definition, quick info, and some diagnostic messages. Next tool for documentation, this is compodoc. So compodoc allows you to generate automatically documentation for your workspace inside Angular, and it's internal tool, so you don't need an external server. You can install it via npm and generate inside your console, and includes a search engine, so it's really useful for you to find something inside your documentation. This is how you can use it in your app. So you need to set up inside Angular CLI with npm install command. It's really useful to add it to your scripts in package.json, and then you can use only npm run compodoc command and you will get generated documentation inside your workspace. And this is how it looks like after generation. So this is for reusable Pokemon's app. You will get a new directory called documentation. This is just kind of web app, web page. So in a browser it looks this way. So you will see the visualization of your app, like kind of overview with counters for your different elements, components, with visualization of your routes, interfaces, modules. You can list it all your dependencies. Yeah, and great documentation done automatically without your work. So it's really cool. And the last tool, so if we talk about environment, then we can build Angular app without local environment. And StackBlitz allows you to play with Angular in a browser, because it's a playground for creating, updating, and now even deploying apps in a browser. It's really cool because of real-time reloading. So if you type something, then you will see immediately the results in your app in the browser. You don't need to set up your local environment, so it's great if you want, for example, to prototype something, for example, test the components or service or something like that without the setting up the full environment inside your local computer. It supports npm packages, maybe not at all, but lots of, and it works offline, so it's really cool. Here you can find the link for StackBlitz. So there is the official page of StackBlitz. You can create a new workspace, and if you click it, the specific environment, let's say, then you will get a new project with the full file structure for example, Angular, and with the results on the right side. And you will see all packages. And options to integrate with GitHub, to share it, to collaborate interactively with other developers, so it's also really cool. Yeah, and just a great option to play with Angular in a browser. Now it's time for a quick summary. So today I presented you 10 tools for Angular developers that I hope make your life easier. I told you about Angular CLI, that is, I think, the most powerful tools if you work with Angular. I presented you Augury, great tool for debugging, testing your app. I showed you some solution for user interfaces, like some libraries, for example, Angular Material, NGX Admin, NGX Data Table, or NGX Charts. I told you about solution to build your components in isolation. This is Storybook and bit.dev. I showed you some tools for improving performance of your apps using lazy loading or prefetching. I told you about tools that allows you to take care about your code style. This is Codelyzer and language service. I introduced you to compodoc, a tool to generate documentation for Angular projects, and StackBlitz to write Angular apps in a browser. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. I hope it will be helpful for you, and just have a nice programming day like this.